Dear Lord, Alec, what is happening?
We're coming down to the wire. We have to get something out. We have to record something, but I don't think either of us are as confident as we would like to be about what we're going to talk about today.
Look, it's a struggle. It's been like over a year since we've done one of these.
It has.
In case
It's
you
been
didn't
a
know,
while.
we did we did animated shows that define us. We did
Live action shows.
live action shows that define us, and we did video games that define us.
hmm
All right, so basically we each have 5, and together it makes 10, 10 films that define all of Tarqaron United.
Between the two of us, yes. We're
So
trying-
it's important to parse out what exactly do we mean by define, because it is a really subjective angle, right?
Yeah. So this one I had a lot more trouble, I think, than any of the other two, 3, I should say. Any other like film-based ones. I think like typically what I'm looking for in like say that this defines me is that it defines my tastes, and it's something that defines like maybe it has a facet of my personality can be described by the piece that's on my list. It's not necessarily my favorite. This isn't like a top 10 of like this is our most favorite movies. It's more of this is a top 10 that we feel describes us and our tastes a little bit more than just saying it's our favorite.
Yeah, essentially I always go for like whatever, if I can have a list of things, you can look at it and be like, that's reflective of the kind of things that I might like generally. The films I found hard, because obviously we're exposed to films all our lives, but I feel like I haven't really come into my own in terms of being a fan of film until recently. You know, it's like I'm still kind of coming into that. There's still so many films I need to watch, and I don't have a clear like this is my kind of film as much as like some other things, or like video games where I'm clearly defined these are the kinds of things that I like to play. Films, I'm usually open to a lot of different things, so to narrow it down to 5 to really be reflective of everything is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
So I did find myself gravitating to some of my, like, couple of my favorites naturally, but it's like there are elements of it that I can, and elements of other ones that I can parse out. But,
Yeah, kind of the same with me too. Actually, this one. Like I said, this one was tough. I may even watch this video like a year from now and think, oh, this is trash.
I don't like any of those now.
I disagree. Yeah. Well, it's not that I don't like them, but it's just like I feel like I could find something that better describes it. You know.
And in a couple of years of Tarqaron, who knows how many more movies we'll discover through Tarqaron.
It's very true. It's very true. It's very true.
It could be on here. All right, so we'll alternate basically.
Yep.
We're not going to go crazy long about each one because we're already shooketh. But
yeah, we are. We are quite shooketh, I would say. So what's your first one? And these aren't in any particular order, at least not for me.
No particular order.
Yeah.
Okay. My first one is I don't know where to start here. I'll start with The Naked Gun. Okay.
Okay.
This
Cool.
is the one I was actually most confident about. Weirdly,
Yeah.
I watched it a few years ago for the first time. It's an '80s comedy, but it's like outrageous, and it doesn't fail to make me laugh like any time I watch it. And it's one I love to show to other people.
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen's great,
Yes.
and this kind of humor is very reflective of the kind of humor I enjoy. It's really stupid,
Very goofy.
really goofy, and it's like. For something in the '80s, a lot of the comedy surprisingly still lands, you know, and it's kind of timeless in a sense. So that's basically what it comes down to. It's pretty simple. The Naked Guns might be my favorite movie in general, also, but it's also very indicative of like the kind of comedy I'm into. So have you seen The Naked Gun?
No, I don't believe I have.
You're gonna have.
I think
we're
I've
gonna
seen
have to
part.
watch that.
I've seen part of Airplane, but I haven't seen Naked Gun. I've heard they're very funny.
It's also based on a series called Police Squad, which
yes,
I went and watched.
Right,
It's like 5 episodes long. I went and watched it after the fact, and it's like not nearly as good as this. I found.
Yeah,
It's like
okay.
like half of the jokes don't land. And it's like there's a lot of jokes that are literally carried over into the movie, like the same exact joke.
That work better?
They'll work better, and they cut out a lot of there's some really annoying bits they do, like every episode. There's this freaking shining guy. Every episode they do this bit of where like there'll be like every like powerful figure will go up to the shoe shining guy, and like he'll have all the secrets for what they need, that kind of thing.
Okay,
so it'll be like the general will come up, and he'll sit on the thing, get his shoe shined, and it'll be like, "Hey, you got any intel for me?" And he's like, "I don't know. Do you have any money?" And then they'll slip him a dollar bill, and it'll be like he'll have like a very in-depth like secret plan, and then like a chef will come up. It's like over the top, but they'll do it every episode, so they kind of drive it
nice,
a little too much, but
nice. So I think if we're gonna start comedy, mine is The Princess Bride.
Okay, I haven't seen The Princess Bride.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. I don't want to give too much away, but I found over the years this movie gets. I don't know if I necessarily say funnier over time, but it becomes. I appreciate it more and more as the years go on. It's a very funny movie. The writing is just wonderful. It's immensely quotable. There's so many things that are quotable about this movie. Like I could list off a bunch right now. You haven't seen it, so I don't want to ruin anything for you. Because it's a special film. It's really fun.
I've heard that. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, and it's there's not really much else to say about it. I mean, it's so I would say this. It's a frame narrative with a little boy who's sick, and his grandpa comes over and reads him a story, reads him The Princess Bride. And so Peter Falk plays the grandfather, little Fred Savage plays the little boy, and every once in a while it cuts back and forth between the story being told and them, and it's just a wonderful story. It's very funny, very funny, because it's supposed to be a swashbuckling adventure type of thing, but there's like, it does not take itself seriously at all, even when it is taking itself seriously. There's just so many great bits. Yeah, it's such a fun film, and it's just I never grow tired of watching it. I could watch it like I could probably. As soon as I was finished watching it, I could probably like watch it again the next day and be okay with that. It's no problem with rewatching that film. I've probably seen it like a dozen, 2 dozen times. So
a lot of these movies are probably, for both of us, ones that we wouldn't mind discussing on Tarqaron at some point too.
Yeah,
especially if the other person hasn't seen it.
Yeah, so some of these may pop up again.
That would be great. That would be great. And then they'll be on the other person's list in the future. It'll have that much.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So let's see. Oh, I don't think we mentioned in the beginning. This is all live action films as well.
Right, so live action films is what we're going for.
We'll have a separate one for animated films at some point. All right. So my next one I'll do is Rear Window.
Ooh.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Ooh, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah,
that's
it's
a
really
good choice.
It's like not talked about nearly enough in terms of Alfred Hitchcock. You know Psycho. Everyone talks about Psycho, Vertigo.
Wonderful film. Those are wonderful films too.
They're great, yeah. But Rear Window, there's something about it where I just love the way it does suspense, and it's like obviously it's not like straight up horror where you're actually scared, but it's like he does a really good job of just giving the feeling of suspense. So it's like I'm not like a huge thriller or horror fan, so it's not like this is why it's on my list necessarily, but I don't mind them. But it's mostly like just a representative of like classic films. I felt like there should be some representative in there because I do appreciate films of like, I don't know, some of them are rough with age, but Alfred Hitchcock's are pretty timeless. So this one is one of my favorites though. And I just felt there should be some representative of classic film in here.
Yeah, it's the techniques.
Yeah, and most of my influence is going to come from the last decade or so of film, but that one I did get to see, through like film, maybe film history class where I saw that. I'm not sure, but I thought it was worth mentioning at least.
Definitely, definitely. I'm making alterations on the fly here. I think I'm actually going to kick one of mine off because you unlocked memories of I haven't been thinking of like older films that I adore. I love like old classic cinema.
You're gonna hit him with the Casablanca.
No, not quite anything quite like that. But I have enjoyed over the years watching stuff on Turner Classic Movies with my dad. We have cable or satellite, so and just getting to enjoy like old films, like classic films, is sometimes just like really enjoyable. Particularly seeing like the evolution of techniques, like even back in the day, there were still a lot of like really interesting techniques being used and seized upon. So and just the acting too. They were just, you recognize character actors throughout different films and different years and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. Because a lot of those people, like, they're reliable. They show up, do their job. There's a nice simplicity to old classic Hollywood. So the movie that I think best represents my love of these older films and my appreciation for those older films is It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, okay.
It's typically thought of as a Christmas movie. Really only the last 45 minutes of the movie is like really around Christmas. Most of the rest of the movie is just an exploration of the life of this one small town guy played by Jimmy Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just a beautiful exploration of the impact a person has in his community, in life. It's just a wonderful.
I'm looking it up because I'm not sure if I've seen it or not.
So well, like Clarence. So Clarence, Clarence, Clarence is the guardian angel for. I cannot for the life of me remember his name off the top of my head because I hadn't really been thinking about it until you mentioned Rear Window. But yeah, it's just sort of tracks him throughout his life. All the major events of his life are sort of detailed to sort of lead you up to the moment where Clarence, his guardian angel, decides to intervene, or is tasked with intervening. And it's a Frank Capra movie. He made a lot of really solid, like, old time America, like really patriotic values and good old American values. So like I'm trying to think of another classic film he made. I don't know if he did Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. He liked to work with Jimmy Stewart though. And Jimmy Stewart is just James Stewart, amazing actor. People play up a lot of his things because he always kind of talk like this, and when he got excitable, everyone always sort of just. You think of like Dana Carvey always like portrayed him in the SNL skits and everything. So, so you think of films like Harvey is another great movie. But It's a Wonderful Life is particularly because it does, even though like I said, even though the last 40 minutes of it or make it like a kind of a classic Christmas movie, just the whole film is just a wonderful character study and a wonderful character exploration, and it's just like a really nice positive message at the end of the day. And there is kind of an old early 20th century charm to the sort of positive messages in those movies. Some of them maybe feel a little like outdated now, but I think that one definitely still rings fairly true today, and rings I think provides a fairly important message for people. And I've always liked that movie, and I will probably still watch it every Christmas from here till whenever I croak.
So it defines your Christmas characteristic, or your...
Yeah, well, I would say it fits several niches. I like Christmas movies also a lot. White Christmas is another probably a close second just off this list if we're thinking about like classic films. Musicals too. White Christmas is just great. But I do like Christmas films. But I think just it sort of fits the like classic cinema. So it hits sort of like the Christmas feels, but it also gets it hits that like appreciation for a simpler time of filmmaking. Also, I like watching old films.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's just something that can be really appreciated about the simplicity and the character driven writing and everything in them. So
for sure, though there is some stuff that's really rough too.
Some stuff is really rough.
I found this,
not everything is great.
and I found a lot of like the actors tend to just sound the same too. Like a lot of the classy like white guy like in a suit, they always have like the same speaking voice, and they always have like the same, very similar archetypes.
Well, notice I didn't put a Western on here.
Right. Yeah.
I know Westerns were like the biggest thing for like the longest time. For like 30 years.
I do like Stagecoach.
Nothing but Western. Oh, the film or the show?
Stagecoach, the film.
Okay.
It's a classic film.
See, I'm more partial to like the spaghetti westerns,
Mm-hmm.
which those had a darker edge to them. I like those a little bit more than. I mean, Gunsmoke. That was the TV show. I used to watch some of that.
And I do still have a lot of classic films I need to watch, like a lot of essentials. I literally have a book that's like 1,000 movies you need to watch before you die, and like a lot of those are like you're just like halfway through, you're like into the 60s or something. So
Yeah.
there's like tons of classic films in there.
Yeah, I some of those are probably.
Yeah.
But another like, so now we're sort of getting off a tangent, but I saw. It was the film that the Marilyn Monroe scene with like the skirt blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I think it's the 7-Year Itch. That is a very, very funny movie, and I highly recommend it. That is a great film. It's very funny. It's basically the entire premise of the film is a guy trying to convince himself not to cheat on his wife, and it's not. And it's played for comedy, and it does it so well. It's very funny.
So I get that. I don't think we even talked about this in the Cleopatra versus Marilyn Monroe ERB. But
I hadn't seen it. I hadn't seen it at that point. That's why.
They literally say 7-year itch in that. So.
That's right. Yeah, that's why. Yeah,
your sandy vagina has a 7-year itch.
The 7-year itch was
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So I just saw that. It was during our break. I watched. It was probably in like March or something. I saw it. And yeah, it was. I very much enjoyed it. It was very funny.
My third one I'll say is Avengers: Infinity War.
Awesome.
So this is one of my favorite movies ever, and it's probably my favorite superhero film, which is why I put it on here, because I wanted to at least have an element to represent my nerdiness, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I thought about like there's like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Star Wars. They're all kind of in that realm, but I didn't feel confident enough to put any of those specifically. Like I've seen all of Star Wars now, but I don't feel like it's still like a defining thing for me. Even though like Empire Strikes Back is like obviously I would give it like 9.5 out of 10. And Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, they're both great, but those are ones I'd like to rewatch soon because I only really watched them as a child.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see them filling this slot for sure. But Infinity War, just as a movie, is really well constructed. Obviously, most ambitious crossover in history, and yeah, it's mostly just there to represent the nerdy aspect, but I do really enjoy it as a film, and just the ending. I've always really admired the ending because if you take it outside of the MCU, you know, it's like a really unconventional ending because it's bleak and it's like you never expect to have that kind of take. So I admire movies that have like interesting takes on stuff like that too, and unconventional routes.
Well, the last shot of the film I love so much because we've just witnessed something so horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and yet it's like serene. The villain has done exactly what he set out to do.
Yeah.
He's succeeded, and he does exactly as he describes what he wants to do. Is I want to watch the sunrise on a thankful universe, basically.
I mean, there's just so much there. It's like there's emotional moments, there's fun action, there's funny comedic moments. So there's a lot in there.
Okay, so for me, you actually just mentioned it, and that's The Empire Strikes Back.
I thought this would be on here.
It has to be on my list. I'm not going to go into much detail at all. Everything I could possibly say about this film, I probably talked about in our Star Wars review. Empire Strikes Back is a very important film for me growing up. I probably saw it more than any other movie. I probably still to this day have seen it more than any other movie. Even though I not in its full entirety, but I have watched it a lot over the years. There was like a tape in my dad's office. Because my dad was a teacher, when he'd have staff meetings, I wouldn't have anything to do, so I would watch some movies. Empire Strikes Back was a frequent one. So,
mm-hmm.
and yeah, I mean, I think from Empire, I really had a huge appreciation for we said like building tension or drama. There weren't lots of movies back then, at least not to my in my experience, but there weren't lots of movies that where the good guys didn't necessarily win at the end. They get away.
Avengers Infinity War.
Avengers Infinity War is a perfect example. Another perfect example was actually another film that I don't know what I'm kicking off the list yet, so I'm not going to say that yet.
Damn.
But Empire Strikes Back still, it's just like it's immensely watchable to me. I love the themes in the film, and there's still hope at the end, even when everything looks dire and bad for our heroes. There's still a glimmer of hope. There's still the chance that things can come back. And as a storytelling, I love that in storytelling when it's like it's your huge, not the climax, but it's the huge turning moment where it's like things look really bleak for the hero, but something has to happen where they have to come back and try to win and come back from their defeat. And and I've always really liked that. That's always been a really the interesting part of storytelling to me. When that type of thing happens.
It is excellent. It's an excellent film. I think we both agreed it's the peak of Star Wars. So
yeah, it really is.
So yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, I could definitely see it being on my list in the future, but I feel like I have to let it simmer a little bit.
Yeah,
let it settle.
Okay. Well, so that's a straight up childhood film for me, basically. Yeah. So yeah.
So my movie that is kind of representative of my childhood movie, I was going between a bunch. I'm so unsure of this list. Every second I regret everything. But my representative for that is Jumanji.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So just kind of like the simple fun aspect, because like a lot of these, there's so much serious themes, there's emotional stuff. And this one's more of just a casual, nostalgic fun that comes into films. I had a couple I was tossing around, but this one was like, Robin Williams was also a key person growing up for me. So it was cool to have him represented. And Jumanji was one that I watched a lot growing up. It was the one I rewatched a lot. Right up there with Shrek the Third in terms of rewatched movies. Shrek the Third only by obligation because my DVD player stopped working.
That's right. You've explained this before, at least to me. I don't know if you explained this on camera.
Yeah, I had Shrek the Third in the DVD player, but then it came to a point where it wouldn't eject properly, and so I had to rewatch Shrek the Third every night because that's all I had.
I had to. I just had to.
So I had this little TV at the end of my bed. Just Shrek the Third was on so much. So it's literally probably my most watched movie ever. Because I generally don't rewatch movies that much, even ones I love. So yeah, but Jumanji was also one that I really liked. So
Yeah, Jumanji's really fun.
yeah, I have not
Robin
seen
Williams.
I have not seen Welcome to the Jungle either. The new ones.
Oh, you haven't seen the new ones?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen anything, but I really liked. I haven't seen the new one. I think it came out at the end of last year, but I did see the first new one.
Right.
I liked it a lot. It was fun.
Interesting. What you got over there? How many you have left here?
It's really tough. I mean, we've got. So I crossed one off. I haven't actually physically crossed it off because I'm torn between a couple. Because I could go with a couple different angles here. I think I covered. No.
No, definitely not, dude.
No.
To not cover it enough. Gotta keep that one
Okay,
in.
so I'm covering sci-fi with Empire Strikes Back, even though it's a more science fantasy. I want to see Star Trek 2.
Yeah, take that out of there.
Because Star Trek 2, no, Star Trek is unfortunately out of here, which it's disheartens me to say more than anything because I love Star Trek more than a lot of things. Star Trek 2 is a wonderful film, and I would love to include it on here.
Doesn't define you though.
I'm instead putting Scott Pilgrim versus the World on here, which was like a first thing that like one of the first ones that I thought of. I was like, I have to have this on here for several reasons. One is the sort of the fun aspect that you talk about, Jumanji. It's a lot of. It's a stellar cast. I love the cast of this film. They picked basically everyone is perfect in the roles that they're in. But more than anything is editing, and the editing, and this goes for the whole cadre of Edgar Wright films. Baby Driver is another huge one for me. Shaun of the Dead's another big one. Hot Fuzz, basically everything that I just completely blanked.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Haven't seen any of those films, so I can't really keep going with that.
Basically, anything that Edgar Wright directs or has a hand in any way. I mean, and I include Ant-Man on this list too, even though he did the concept for Ant-Man, but I don't think he was frustrated by something about it, so he didn't direct it. He just was like involved in the story, or ended up just being involved in the story. But all of his films all have a brilliance in editing as a way to tell a story, and they're all done so well. And Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is no different. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, I would say, is probably one of his more chaotic or flashy films in terms of some of the editing. There's just a lot of wild stuff that happens in it. We have aspect ratio changes. We have split screens. We have a lot of like effects on the screen. It's a perfect comic book film in the sense that you really get the wild zaniness of a comic book from it, or even a video game. It's almost a video game film too in that way. You get like all the effects, the bam pow stuff from comic books, but you get like leveling up and like stats and stuff showing up from like video games. It's a wonderful film, very 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 dear to my heart in my love of like pop culture, my love of games, my love of comics. But it's also a very hard to admit self-examination, but it's easy to relate to Scott Pilgrim, even though he's kind of a selfish jerk. But let's be honest, a lot of us are selfish jerks. A lot of us can be kind of you're selfless. I know, Zach, you're selfless. But I know a lot, like particularly when we're young and stupid, and I would still consider myself in that frame, even though I'm 28. Um, we can be very selfish and foolish and
Never.
not be the best sort of person ever. And Scott Pilgrim has like a lot of growth, and it's a really good film about like relationships and growth, all in this wonderful zany backdrop of strange fighting seven evil exes. And it's great. It's a fun cult. It's a cult film easily because it didn't do very well at the box office, but it's found a new life at midnight like showings and stuff, and it's a great movie. Highly recommended, especially if you're into games, and if you like Edgar Wright's other films, or if you haven't seen. This is actually my first one that I saw, so this really got me interested in his stuff. So there's a lot of different reasons why I love Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and it's just really funny. It's a very quotable film. Also, it's just very funny.
I haven't seen this one either.
Oh.
So
you should, yeah. Wow.
Are you sure? Are you sure The Empire Strikes Back didn't cover your editing quota? Because it has a lot of.
It has a lot of good editing.
It has a lot of. Oof.
It does, yeah, but we're not
So
not talking about
wipes.
that. We're talking about Edgar Wright style editing, and that's
so many
not
wipes
bad.
though. Oh,
All the
man.
wipes.
All right, so my last one
Yes.
is going to be Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Okay, I haven't seen this movie, but I've heard very good things about
Yeah,
it.
we gotta review this one.
Okay.
It's really interesting. My favorite Jim Carrey film, and it's not a comedy, so it's
mine is The Truman Show.
The Truman Show is awesome too.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that encapsulates like Jim Carrey in general. Like the best, it's like the best representation of what he does. But this is a really cool take as well. I found like the characters to be really relatable, and like, so the reason I put this movie on here, aside from it just being one of my favorite movies in recent memory, is that it's like it kind of represents the more like being super invested and like being able to relate with the characters, but also very emotional moments. And it also there's a bit of a romance. I'm kind of a sucker for romance stuff as well. It's like
another thing I like about Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah.
I also like the romance stuff.
And The Empire Strikes Back, of course.
Yeah, it's got a lot of good romance. Yeah, other film I inserted in here that I don't have written down that I can't remember. It's a Wonderful Life has a sweet romance element to it as well. And The Princess Bride. All of my films have these.
Yes,
nice,
the Naked Gun has a really great romance.
I highly doubt.
It does. It does. He asked if he can help her with her beaver. He was like, "May I hold your beaver?" And she hands down like a statue of a beaver. She's like up on a ladder in a skirt. This is nonsense.
I feel like I've seen that scene too. That's great. That's so terrible.
Yeah, go watch the OJ scene. The OJ opening
Simpson?
like birthday.
The OJ
like,
Simpson scene.
I don't know how you would search it up, but yeah, OJ's a great one of the main actors in The Naked Gun. But yeah, Eternal Sunshine's great. Just because there's so much. The characters I love. They're both really relatable. I found both of the two main characters, and I really love movies that can like get you really absorbed into a relationship and emotional side of stuff. So it's like that much more than all the other movies is really good at doing that.
So my last film is one that does not have a romance element pretty much at all. There's like hints at like one, but it's not like a one that's like present. It's one that's like, oh well, I'm here, and my love is far off, or what have you, you know.
Right.
So that's Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World.
Oh, absolutely! I've not seen this.
I love historical films. I like films that have a lot of really good action, a lot of good character performances. Paul Bettany and Russell Crowe are both phenomenal in this film. But I love the ocean, and I love sailing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been something that, you could be like, well, throw Pirates of the Caribbean on there or whatever.
Evan
Pirates
Almighty.
of the Caribbean's great. Sure.
Evan Almighty
Noah.
could go right on there.
We'll put Noah in there, yeah. No, but like actual sailing, not just sitting in a boat.
Yeah. Oh, 51st
the
Dates.
ocean. The ocean has always shut up.
The
ocean has always
a great sailing
been-
sequence.
The ocean has always been something that I've always been very fascinated by. It's probably a lot of it is due to a lot of vacations as a childhood to Maine.
Privilege.
A lot.
The privilege is there.
Okay, sure. I never went sailing. I mean, I went on boats that were being commanded, helmed by other people, but I never went on. I never sailed myself.
Interesting.
But I have a which is funny because I don't really know how to swim, and I was kind of terrified of the ocean as a younger kid. But maybe it was more a healthy fear,
Titanic.
Would you stop? let me talk about Master and Commander.
It's great.
It is. It's a great film. It's based on a book series, actually, the Aubrey Maturin book series. I haven't really read any of those. I think I read part of the first one. And they're historical fiction that take place during or after the Napoleonic Wars. After the Napoleonic era. So France and England were still very much at odds, especially on the ocean. And yeah, so it's great. Like I said, a lot of really good character performances. The ship to ship combat is great. The effects are all amazing, especially because they did actually do a lot of filming on an actual ship. So it was an expensive movie to make, also. But it pays off. Just a great period piece, and yeah, lots of cool stuff about they go around. It's called the Far Side of the World, so they go around the bottom of South America. They end up in the Galapagos Islands at one point, and it's great. So there's a lot of really cool naturalist stuff in that too. So yeah, really great film. Big recommend. Doesn't get talked about as much as I would like. There's a lot to really appreciate about the film. A lot of really good cinematography in it too. So,
all right.
Didn't really get to talk a whole lot about cinematography, but that is something that, especially over the years, that's something that I've really grown to hugely appreciate in film.
Yeah, no, I already have great regrets of one that could have included for.
Okay. That's actually one of the reasons why. I mean, I didn't have Lord of the Rings in here, which that killed me. I was like, I want to have that in there somehow, but I didn't find a way to put that in. That's one of the reasons why the Half-Blood Prince is my favorite Harry Potter film. Is the cinematography in that is just so good. All
right, so there you have it. Our 10 films that define Tarqaron. 10 live-action films. So we got The Naked Gun, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Rear Window, Avengers Infinity War, Jumanji.
Yeah, and then we have what did I start with? We had The Princess Bride. We had what do we have? We had The Princess Bride. We had
two Princess Brides.
We had the two Princess Brides. We had the Raisin in the Sun. We had, I'm just making stuff up now. We had Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
We had Ghostbusters, and
2016.
We also had Mockingjay Part 1. Okay, that was my list.
I forgot that one. Mockingjay Part 1.
Okay. We had The Princess Bride. We
you're already cut off halfway through, so you can't list them anymore.
No, we can. No, we can. Absolutely.
I was trying to list the 10 all in order.
Well,
now it's too late.
Let's do bad. No, so well. Anyways, we had the Princess Bride. We had
The Empire Strikes Back.
No, that wasn't the second one.
I didn't do mine in order though.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. We had the Princess Bride, Empire Strikes Back, It's a Wonderful Life, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and Master and Commander.
Indiana Jones.
I do like Indiana Jones a lot too, but no.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That movie doesn't exist.
So, Terminator 3. Okay.
Judgment Day. No, that was T2. I don't know what's going on. My brain's on fire.
Yeah, there are some for sure that I wish I could included. I wanted to kind of have a documentary in there. I do love documentaries, but and then I already regret half of my list. So, but cool. No, that's definitively the 10 that define Tarqaron.
Right there, you got him.
It'll never get.
It will never change. We'll never do an errata to it. We'll never make an amendment.
It's timeless. All right. So that's it.
All right. Cool. What is a video that somebody should go watch? Maybe they just enjoy this top 10.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think they should go see after this one?
I think they should go watch our review of The Empire Strikes Back.
Hey, there you go. You can get some ideas as to why I put it on there.
That's the only one represented on here that we did a review of.
Interestingly enough, yeah.
I actually really was considering putting Good Will Hunting on there, actually.
I mean, I actually, to be honest with you, same.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie.
Like, for sure, it's like my top 10 movies of all time.
Yeah.
I'm like, and who knows what awaits us in the future. So many gems out there left to uncover.
Hidden gems, you could say.
Hidden, uncut gems.
Uncut. No, I don't think so.
I want to watch that one. It's on Netflix, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet either. So.
All right. And we'll see us sometime in the future for the animated films that define us.
Yeah.
If we want to do something else, I don't know. There could be some other things we go off into, but
sure.
That's the last key one we're missing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.